Welcome to the Commercial Real Estate Report. Today we're talking about commercial real estate construction. Our guest has been in business for 37 years. I'm your host, Chris Berg, Head of Business Development for Abernathey Holdings. We build Class A self-storage in California and Arizona. Excited to introduce our guest to you today. He's the Director of Construction for Abernathey Holdings, Chris Papadakis. Chris, it's great to have you, and thanks for giving us some time.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for inviting me on.
I'm excited for this convo because when you and I first talked, you're like, Chris, this is way outside my comfort zone. I don't do this, which is perfect for me because I can barely hammer a nail. So you do the construction, I do the media. We'll be a happy marriage here. So I really wanted to start with your background. I mean, 37 years. I know you've done some incredible projects in that span time. So just share with us, how you got into the business and some of the exciting things you've done.
Yeah, actually, it's going on 38 years. So I'm about 2 years shy of 4 decades now, from starting out back in the Midwest and then moving myself gradually to I always wanted to come west anyway. Then I started moving and ended up in Sacramento and developed an area out in that. I was working as actually a signatory union and non-union contractor in California. So did a lot of work in the East Bay, San Francisco, all around the areas. And up and down the coast, I was building fast food brand restaurants at that time. I started out, and I worked my way into a lot of different freestanding buildings, and then it gradually opened up into office buildings. And I got involved in hospitality in strip centers. So everything was kind of a gradual move. Split it up a little bit. Most of my time was spent on the west part of the country. So I did, just kept busy, and then gradually, you go with the flow sometimes of the construction, where things are popping the best, and then I moved down to Phoenix. So. I'm very familiar with the in the West, developing and so forth. I worked out of these projects up in Alaska and over in Pearl Harbor, over in Hawaii, and so forth. So the West Coast is kind of my forte now. Even though I do like going back in the East on some of the projects that we were involved in,
Well, hopefully we'll get you back out east then, in the fairly near future. And I would love to ask you, because when I first came out to California, I came out from North Dakota, and we would tell people, hey, I'm going back out to California. We're going to get into building self-storage. And people, Chris, would literally laugh at me. Like, what are you thinking going to California? Because obviously, as you know, it's so arduous, or can be, to build here. What have you seen as some of the big distinctions between California and Arizona, or just this state as a whole?
Well, I always thought it was kind of a shocker, actually, moving down to the Arizona and working out of this market. Since I was in California for a period of time. And then I had clients that I would fly back and forth to California and do work for them, because I was pretty fortunate over the years. I've had probably, I would say, about 98% of the business that I've done has been all repeat business with clients or word of mouth with clients and so forth. I've only 2 or maybe 3 at the most percent in actual bidding projects. So I've had a good run with a lot of people and made a lot of good contacts over the years. But when I got down to Arizona, it's just a different climate down here, and that's not the weather. It's just the construction climate is basically it's more of a cowboy type mentality. And that was in 80, what is that? 80, I'm trying to think, about 89. And so things were just developing out here in the area. And so I got involved with quite a bit, and there was quite a, in the commercial end of it. And it just, things just grew, and I grew with it. But I noticed that in comparison to, let's say, subcontractors, for instance, whom I'm dealing with, on a daily basis, I noticed that the work ethic and so forth here was a little bit different. We had so many migrations coming in to this area. So many different from people in different states, different contractors. You had a lot of guys working out of their trucks, which most of them do, but it was different. I could get more done in California than I could in Arizona.
Come on.
Has that changed? Somewhat, but
Okay.
that's kind of where it was at that point. I think here, and I won't elaborate too much on it, but I believe in this market, contractors have to take on more work or multiple projects where they could actually limit themselves to just maybe, less projects and a little bit better bidding process or a little bit more money in it. It's just kind of, it ended up being somewhat of a cutthroat situation. I didn't really get that in California. Didn't have that. I dealt with a lot of different contractors over the years, and I just felt that it was more of a cutthroat in Arizona than it is, right on the coast. So has that changed? I don't know. Could be. I haven't been in California in a while. I don't know. And I did work from one end of the state to the other. So that's just a little bit. I mean, I'm not really knocking what's happening here, but I noticed that if the guys would stick together and not take on so much work and split themselves up, they end up having a manpower problem, and they end up going with, making everybody just uncomfortable. You just can't get things done.
Wow. I think that would surprise a lot of people. Let's talk about your journey into Abernathey Holdings. My understanding is you were getting ready to kind of walk off into the sunset, enjoy life, and all of a sudden you meet Andrew and you hear about self-storage. You're like, oh, this is kind of intriguing.
I did meet Andrew, and that was a very good meeting. And I think it was funny because we had signed a contract for the Higley project over in Gilbert, Arizona. And without meeting each other and not even speaking, it was done through a third party. And so once I did meet Andrew, then we hit it off pretty well. And I told him, he was asking me what I plan on doing in the future, if I was going to continue doing, other work with my own company, I should say. And I told him, I said, yeah, I mean, but really, I'd like to retire. I've been in this industry for a while, and I said, it's getting to that point. I want to spend more time with my family and whatever, because it took a lot out from other things that I was doing. But anyway, we hit it off pretty good, and joined the Abernathey group in January of 23. And here I am.
It's great to have you. And I know you've been now putting some effort back into California because we got a couple projects on the horizon there. But walk us through what intrigued you. I mean, was it just Andrew? Do you have a passion as well for self-storage? And walk us through the Higley site, because I got to share with you, Chris, and I think I shared this with you when I first met you, that Higley site, it just takes your breath away. I mean, it's a stunning self-storage site.
Yeah, it was. And during that period of time, of course, not only myself and the crew that we had, but everybody around was suffering during that pandemic situation. Mm-hmm. So it made it a little bit more challenging, to say the least, in timeframes and so forth. And then you add the supply chain, and then you add the workforce and so forth, and you're losing people left and right because of illnesses and whatever. So it was a challenging during that time. Blindsided price increases that came up periodically was another thing so, you just, and again, I'm not just saying it for the project that we were doing, but I have to actually say it, same thing for all the contractors that were working at that time. I think we were all going, because we were kind of sharing notes, what was going on. But thank goodness we got past that. And at this point, I see what's happening here in the market as far as in the Phoenix market, I can pretty much comment on. And the areas, there's a lot of things happening with interest rates and so forth, but we have a water supply situation that is going back and forth. And I don't know, they're working on that a little bit, but this larger multi-year manufacturing plants that are being built here. Presently, we have like 58 million square feet of industrial space under construction. So with the manpower that's takes to actually, the skilled labor is what we're short of. And so, it makes it a little difficult to try to get that and get some of the manpower going. But and I think that's what's driven some of the construction costs up. And so I think that I don't know. Do I see anything in the future? Possibly. I know that we have some new idea or something coming up in 24 here, which is going to be interesting because I've checked on the stability of some of the suppliers, and I've found that the steel prices, which we ran into since our buildings are all steel, a little challenging. I know that there's going to be a price increase in somewhere around the first quarter of about another $100 a ton, which puts them up to about $850 a ton at that point. Fortunately, the two projects that we have signed for that are coming up in the Arizona market in January, that's been taken into consideration. So we have that covered. I had to go ahead and order, obviously, some additional materials. So because of lead times, HVAC lead times, 12 to 16 weeks for your rooftop equipment and so forth. Electrical was the big thing. The electrical main service, which we call the switchgear, it's steady at 12 months once you place the order. So to compensate for that, we have to pay up front, and we want to make sure that we can stabilize that and get on that list and whatever it takes to make sure that we can acquire those products and store them. So that's, material cost in the last 3 years, if I was to do an average, it's probably up about 7.5% higher than what it was previously in 3 years.
I want to get to that in a moment, but how do you know that the steel is going to be another $100 in Q1 of 2024?
One of my suppliers, the suppliers that we're dealing with, this company out of back east. I mean, they're a new company for us, and they are involved as a partner, I believe, in a steel manufacturing company. But they also handle our installations of our framing and so forth in our interiors for the storage. So they do all the interior framings, they do all the exterior framing, and they've given me pretty much an idea that this is where it's going. And I said, well, and we want to make sure that we're covered on that. And they've been pretty fair too, by the way. Even though we have not started a project with them yet, they've turned around and give me the benefit of the doubt on a previous contract and said, hey, guess what? Our prices went down on that month. I'm going to give you a little bit back, whatever. So that worked out. Nice. So again, it's going to be something that I'm excited to work with this company. I don't know if you want me to mention their name.
That's to you, whatever you're comfortable with.
They're called Storage Structures. They changed their name from Alpha Framing. So they're going to be new for us, and we're going to see how that's going to work out. So, so that's how I got my information there. I think with the other materials are pretty stable, and we don't use wood, so lumber's gone down. So unfortunate there. But and there's another thing besides the supply chain. I noticed that is a lot of the municipalities in their design expectations nowadays. It's a lot different than what it used to be. It seems like it's taken, the demands are up like 50% due to review durations of these, reviewing your plans and so forth. They're taking extra steps now. Timely reviews don't seem to be any longer a reality, unfortunately. But so in the development stages, the reviews, I mean, what we're noticing here in Arizona, and it may be because of the growth too, because it's being impacted so much with all the people and the people taking up residence on a daily basis here is still pretty steady. So
where do you see things headed? Because as you know, you mentioned the incredible price increases at one point during Higley, but there's a big conversation now with rates being up so high that you're going to see a lot of construction start to, trend in this direction going down. Do you see construction costs headed down as well, or do the labor costs continue to stay up?
Well, that's a good question. I don't really see, as far as the supply chains, I see that staying somewhat steady, although as I mentioned, lumber and so forth, but I see that steady. I see the skilled labor is going to go up a little bit. And I wish I had a better answer for that. I mean, it's hard to really, and I've searched out and I've gotten information from various companies and so forth, and our architects and engineers, and we kind of have a little round table on a lot of this. And, it's just, nobody can really predict where that's headed. Let's just get past this election year and see what happens.
Very well said. I think one other interesting factor, I'm sure you've heard the term onshoring, where you see a lot more people trying to bring business back into the States or Mexico from China. I think that's going to be fascinating to see what that does as far as demand as well. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, again, let's see where the election goes. I don't know. I mean, I don't really see that as, that really doesn't, let's just say I don't follow that on a daily basis. I just concentrate on pretty much this, where our local supply chains are at this point. I mean, I deal, or I can deal, I should say, with an upcoming company out of China on some of the materials and so forth. But as far as people or companies moving back in, it's kind of nice for us here in Arizona, because now we've got that Taiwanian semiconductor plant, which started out at a $60 billion project. It is now, and that was only one of the phases. I don't know. It was supposed to have been completed somewhere towards the end of 23, but I think they've added another year onto that. So we've got, and Intel is doing an increase in their chip plant and so forth, and more production going on there. So, other than what we do as far as steel, and I'd like to see the steel prices stabilize a little bit, because again, I mean, that's our whole building. We are looking into other facets of this building too, with another company on the pre-manufactured walls and so forth. So we're getting prices on where that's going. But I don't know, Chris, to answer your question, it'd be kind of I'd be hard pressed to really, put a thumb on it.
No, I get it. Like you said, let's see what happens in 2024 with the election, and then maybe, will give us some more clarity post that event. But anything else, Chris, that you want to share or add that I'm not asking you?
No, hopefully I've been able to give you some answers on some of these things, but I think with where we are right now, I'm just glad to be past that pandemic situation in the construction end of it, and just trying to work forward to going. I mean, let's face it, things in this industry has changed over the years, and I've seen the changes, felt the changes and so forth. I mean, it's just, there's a lot of things there that have changed. And when I say that, I could spend probably another 2 hours just going over that. But no, I think that, I'm looking forward to what we have coming up here. I'm kind of the grandfather of the group over here, but I like the positive energy from the young guys. So that works out pretty good. We'll see how that all pans out.
So I guess last question, how many ground breaks are you anticipating in Arizona in 2024? And I know we're looking at 2 in California in 2024.
2.
Okay.
We're going to do 2 here and 2 in California. I talked to Andrew about that. We went and discussed that. We have even though we have probably 2 other sites and construction drawings that are in the process right now, we're going to keep those and just see what happens in 24. It'll be kind of nice because we'll have our permitting already set, and we'll be able to go in and do ground breaks on those. And it may be towards the 4th quarter of 24. But right now it's 2 in Arizona and 2 in California.
We look forward to adding a lot more to that list out here in Cali. So, Chris, thank you so much for the time and the insight. I really, really appreciate it. And we'll do this again. Okay.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.